Dobar dan ili dobro jutro. Dobrodošli na online radionicu Tutorial regionalnog challenge fonda. Verujem da ste svi već dobro upoznati sa challenge fondom, ali eto na početku samo da kažemo, ovo je program koji je nastao na inicijativu Nemačkog saveznog ministarstva za regionalnu saradnju i razvoj i glavni implementacioni partner je Komorski investicioni forum Zapadnog Balkana, dok u svakodnevnom upravljanju fond pomaže jedinice za upravljanje, čiji smo predstavnici danas ja i moje kolege gospodin Verman i gospodin 𝗵𝗲𝗏, i mi ćemo se truditi da vam pojasnimo kako izgleda procedura za prijavu, za podnošenje izjave o zainteresovanosti, kako izgleda formular za podnošenje izjave o zainteresovanosti i neke možda korisne savete vezano za pripremu budžeta. Pre nego što nastavimo, ja ću dati reč kolegama iz tehničke podrške. Verujem da ste svi već do sada bili na dosta webinara, ali uvek je zgodno podsjetiti se, kao ono u avionu kad vam objasne pre svakog poletanja na šta da obratite pažnju, tako i sada. Iako često letite, poslušajte naše tehničke instrukcije. Koleginice, izvolite.
Hvala Jelena. Dobar dan i dobrodošli na prvi tutorial iz sesiju za pitanja i odgovore regionalnog challenge fonda u Crnoj Gori. Prije početka webinara kratko ćemo se osvrnuti na tehničke tačke. Dragi učesnici, na današnjem webinaru dostupan je simultani prevod na lokalni jezik. Kako biste aktivirali opciju interpretacije u Zoom traci sa alatkama, u donjem dijelu ekrana pronađite ikonicu interpretacija. Kliknite na datu ikonicu i odaberite opciju Montenegro. Podrazumijevana opcija prevoda jeste da čujete 80% prevoda i 20% originalnog zvuka. Ukoliko u potpunosti želite da eliminišete originalni zvuk i čujete samo prevod, klikom na ikonicu interpretacija odaberite opciju Mute Original Audio. Dakle, zvuk na engleskom možete isključiti opcijom Mute Original Audio. Preporučeno je da koristite Zoom desktop ili mobilnu aplikaciju. Tokom webinara vaši mikrofoni su priključeni, a vaša pitanja u vezi sa aktualnim konkursom RCF na lokalnom ili engleskom jeziku možete postaviti putem Q&A opcije koja se nalazi u Zoom traci sa alatkama. Preporuka je da pitanja postavite nakon izlaganja panelista. Pitanja učesnika će biti odgovorena tokom sesije usmeno ili pismeno od strane panelista. Ukoliko u toku sesije odaberete opciju Raise Hand, daćete signal moderatoru da želite da postavite pitanje usmeno. U tom slučaju, moderator će vas pozvati da se uključite u program uživo i postavite vaše pitanje. Prije uključivanja u program uživo, molimo vas da provjerite da li je audio sistem podešen tako da možete koristiti mikrofon na vašem uređaju. To možete uraditi klikom na strelicu pokraj ikonice mikrofona u lijevom donjem dijelu ekrana i izaberite opciju Test Speaker and Microphone. Tehničku podršku, kao i druge učesnike, možete kontaktirati odabirom opcije Chat, koja se također nalazi na Zoom traci sa alatkama. Putem ove opcije možete razmjenjivati komentare sa ostalim učesnicima ili možete komunicirati sa svim panelistima i učesnicima ukoliko odaberete To all panelists and attendees koja se nalazi u chat sobi. Hvala.
Hvala koleginicama. Nastavljamo dalje. Imaćemo dva dela današnje online radionice. U prvom delu će kolega Pavol predstaviti formular za podnošenje izjave o zainteresovanosti, odnosno online grant management system, online platformu za podnošenje izjave o zainteresovanosti. Ići ćemo sekciju po sekciju. Molim vas da pažljivo slušate prezentaciju, pratite je preko ekrana ili možete gledati formular na crnogorskom ukoliko ga imate na kompjuteru, ukoliko ste već preuzeli sa našeg sajta. I nakon svake sekcije Pavol će zastati i tu će biti prilike da postavite pitanja ukoliko vam nešto od unosa nije bilo jasno, treba da se pojasni neko pitanje ili neko polje. Nakon Pavelovog izlaganja, gospodin 𝗏𝗏 će nam predstaviti ukratko kako daći nam savete oko pripreme budžeta, oko finansijskog učešća i tada ćete njega moći isto da pitate ukoliko bude nejasnoća na tu temu. Pitanja možete postavljati ili kroz raise hand, što je možda i najelegantnije. Vi kliknete ovu ruku i onda kada dođe vreme da se postave pitanja, mi vas pozovemo, samo vas molimo da pratite prezentaciju i da postavljate pitanja onda vezano za ono što su do sada naši izlagači rekli, ali ako ima bilo kakvih drugih pitanja i nevezano za ovu prezentaciju, a u vezi fonda, možete ih napisati kroz Q&A sekciju, pa ću vam onda ja odgovarati tokom prezentacije mojih kolega. Počinjemo. Pavol će govoriti na engleskom. Ukoliko vam je potrebno, molim vas aktivirajte opciju za prevod klikom na globus na traci sa alatkama i odaberite Montenegrin da bi vam bilo lakše da ispratite. Pavol, the floor is yours. Now you can start with your presentation.
Thank you, Jelena. Let me share my presentation with you. So I will introduce today our grant management portal. All of you have already some experience because you already registered the portal. As with the registration, we are providing the reference number of your project. But let us go through each section by section, and I will also pause after each section to give an opportunity for your questions, and we will try to answer as much as we can. So all of you already experienced how to access the portals on the web page. Apply online button. When you push that button, you are redirected to our management portal website, and here you had to register. What I want to emphasize at the beginning that here, let me take this annotation tool. So what I want to emphasize here, and it goes throughout the whole application, when you see these red asterisks in the field, which we are requesting to complete, that means these are all mandatory fields which you need to complete before you will be able to submit your application. I'm showing this screen because this will be the same for the partner enterprises. So when you invite partnering enterprises, they will be redirected to this particular page where they will need to enter these initials and will be able to register in the system. Once you register and open your application, here on the left side, you will see this little dashboard. And for you, the most important is My Application tab, under which you will see your application and the status of your application. And every time you enter the system and click on My Application, you will be able to continue with completion of the fields in the expression of interest application. So when you resume your application, you will always open up the summary page. And in the summary page, I just want to emphasize also for those who comes from partner enterprises, on each page of the system, you will see this number which represents reference number of your application, and our system will recognize your application with this number. In the upper part of each page which you open in the application, you will see some guiding notes with the instructions, what is expected from you, how you should follow up the completion of the application. And in the bottom part, on the summary page, you will see this little table with the 9 sections which you need to complete in order to submit your application. I want to emphasize that here you see 9 sections, but it's not necessary to follow up the order of these sections. You can start to edit any of these once you have information. And also what is important to mention that you can also enter part of the information, save it as a work in progress, and continue once you have additional information to add. On this summary page, you see also these 2 tabs, application and participants. Application will open this table with the 9 sections, while participants will open another screen. Participants means partnering enterprises, which you will need to invite and request for their approval of the information which will be inserted into application. And I will come back to that later because that's in the section 3. Yeah, in the summary page, just to make sure that when you push these participants, you open up this little table where you see at the bottom enterprises, and when you still need to invite them first, you need to push the button invite, and you will open up this little screen with the invitation where you will need to enter the initials of the enterprise, state their email, and also you can write them personal message by which you basically explain the purpose of your email. And once you push the button send invitation, the system will generate the email which will be sent to the email address which you state here in this box email. And next to your message, your personal message, there will be also other instructions how to follow up in order to register in the system and get access to the application. Once they will be reviewing and confirming their application, it will be stated here in this table complete. But I will return, as I mentioned in the section 3, back to the completion of the information for the enterprise. Still staying at the summary page, once the whole application is completed, you will be inviting the enterprises, and the enterprises will see this screen of 9 sections in a form that they will be able to edit only sections number 3 and number 4. The rest is only for view, so they cannot change any information in the remaining sections. And what we are recommending, that the leading applicant, VTI, who will be inserting the information about the application, will complete the full application, including this section 3 and 4, so the information about the enterprises. And when it comes to invitation of the enterprises, they register and enter the system, but they will only review the information. So we would like you to make sure that the information are correct, and they will just check the information in order not to make changes which wouldn't be desirable. So this is all about the summary page, and we move to section 1. And then I pause and we can let the space for your questions. So on section 1, this is the section with our eligibility criteria, and I just make a screenshot of little part of 2 criteria here. What I wanted to explain, as I already explained at the info session, that in case you would respond to our criteria in a way which will make you incompliant with our criteria, the system will give you an automated message and inform you that you are not complying with the criteria and you will not be eligible to submit your application to the 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Any questions
Well,
to the section 1?
Not for now, but yes, we encourage our attendees, if they have any question regarding the section 1, the section that Pavel has just explained, you can raise the hand and ask. Otherwise, we will assume that it is all clear and continue. I was following Montenegrin translation, so I know that everything is well. I guess everything is clear, Pavel, so we can continue.
Yeah, as on every page of every section, you will also see the buttons below the guidance notes text, where you always can move. In this particular case, because it's a section 1, you don't see the previous page, but otherwise you see previous page, next page, return to summary. So this is the summary page, which I explained in the beginning, and you can also save the progress. So this is visible on each page, on each section. Section 2 represents information on Vocational Education Institute. And as I explained before, here you already see the previous page because this is section 2, so you could move to section 1 backwards, or follow up with the following sections. You see also percentage of completion of your application. And on this section 2, at the top of that page, you will see lead applicant contact details section, where you see the red asterisk, that means mandatory field. You will need to push the button edit and enter all your contact initials. What I would like to emphasize here, it's really important for us that you select also your country name, because this field by the system is not mandatory, and therefore, it's important that you pay attention and you select your country properly. Once the inviting enterprises, the partnering enterprises will be in the system, registered in the system, invited to review your application, you will see under this table also the names of the partnering enterprises. And obviously, they also need to have completed contact details. In these sections, we ask a couple of questions and we'll ask you to complete information about the staff, teachers, students' numbers, and we would like to ask you to describe basic information about your institute, so short profile, grants and other aids which you received in past 3 years. These are really only basic information where we would like to know what kind of grant did you receive, what was the purpose of the grant, and whether it has been utilized. Experience from the cooperation with enterprises. So if you have any past experience about the cooperation with enterprises, you would like, again, very briefly to let us know, what kind of enterprises you work with, how long, and what were the results of that cooperation, very briefly again. Then we have here a question regarding liability towards credit bureau, tax and employment authorities. Here we are receiving some questions regarding this liability. Please be aware that these are just liabilities representing overdue amounts, overdue payments. So not your regular liabilities or debts which you are on time with their payment or which comes every month on due. But these are really only overdue overdue amounts, overdue payments, which you did not serve on time. And if somebody asks about credit bureau, this is just general name for any register where the debts are usually registered in each particular economy, and this might be private or public or even some state-owned registers, and they would also register unpaid or overdue debts which you have towards your partners. So I would pause here. Any questions regarding the items which we are asking under this section?
Yeah, we have one question. It's about the types of cooperation regarding this experience from the cooperation with the enterprises. We have a question saying, shall we state all types of cooperation, including aids, donations from different employers or from municipality?
I think here we are focusing just to see an examples of the cooperation with the enterprises, whether they are public, private, or other type. So we want to see if the institute has already any past experience working, cooperating with enterprises. So this is focused particularly on this area of cooperation. So there might be some other partnerships which you have, but in this case, we are asking just for the cooperation with enterprises.
Thank you, Pavel. I believe that's clear now. The focus is on cooperation with the enterprises, so not necessarily all donations and partnerships. If there is something relevant, I'm sure it would be good to know, relevant for the topic of cooperation and cooperative VAT or dual VAT. Otherwise, you focus on cooperation with the enterprises. Okay, thank you. As far as I can see, there are no further questions about this section.
All right, so let's move on then. So we go to
just a second.
Sure.
There's one question. Dear Mr. 𝗂𝗵𝗶, I'm interested in where exactly do we enter the details regarding staff, teachers, students numbers, the profile of the VTI, etc.
Yeah, if you, I didn't copy paste, you know, everything from the system, because that would be for maybe 2, 3, 4 slides. So I didn't want to make it too difficult to understand how it looks like. But in the system, when you are in the system, you will see the same way as you see boxes for the contact details. You will see also questions and boxes for all these items which are mentioned here on my slide.
So I believe this is clear. If you go to your profile on grant management system and you follow the section 2, you will be able to see entries also for staff, teachers, students, and etc. You can also download the Montenegrin version to follow, but you have to enter your answers to online grant management portal in English. There's one question. Yeah, that was the question. Shall we fill in the information in English? Yes, information should be entered in English language. This is because your application will be evaluated by international experts, and it's important that you guarantee for the preciseness of the translation. And the other part of the question, shall we fill in details for educational institutions as well as for the companies? I believe the answer is yes. I think Pavel already explained. So the VTI, the leading applicant, fills in all the details for your educational institution as well as for the enterprises. And then after you fill in all the information, you invite your colleagues from the partnering enterprises to view or to edit details regarding their own enterprise. I think that was it, Pavel. I don't see any questions or raised hands.
Okay, so let's move to section 3, which is information on consortium enterprises. here there are fields for the contact details.
There's also some alarm.
Sorry for that.
Let's turn it off.
Yeah. Contact details, where you basically enter all the basic contact details for your enterprise. And then you have fields regarding main characteristic, which are legal form, which you select from drop-down menu, which is available. Then you have a one-liner, a box where you just enter your activity field, which you are in. So it's really one line. You don't need to describe here a lot. Then economic sector, again, drop-down menu, which you need to select from. Then you have a size of enterprise, small, medium, large, which you need to select what is your size. Then we have fields for the staff, the total, managerial, and technical. Again, questions, what means technical? This is basically all the remaining staff after you enter the managerial. Technical represents all your workers, support staff, anybody else who is contributing, who is employed basically by the company. Then we are asking for your certificates and qualifications. So in case you have been awarded any certificates, for example, quality standards certificate, or you have some training licenses, etc., we would like to ask you to enter those here. Then we have a short profile. So here we would like to hear a little bit more about your business activities, your position on the market, your resources, your training needs, cooperation with VTIs, and planned contribution to the consortium. All of that is mentioned in the application as a guiding note under this short profile section. Then liability towards credit bureau, tax employment authorities, and overdue payments is the same what I explained before with the VTI. So exactly only the overdue payments. In case there are some, also in case of VTI, the same is valid here. You will have a comment box where you can add your comment just in case there are some which you need to mention. And then the last one on the enterprise profile is the end-year results in the year preceding submission. So we are asking question whether you achieved positive end-year results. We receive questions here also because we are all aware of the situation with COVID and last year results, which might have some limitations. Here we have also a possibility to comment in case you were not achieving a positive result last year. And we would like to see what were the reasons, major reasons except COVID. And obviously we will consider in case the enterprise has been solid, achieved good results previously before prior COVID period, and only due to COVID the situation worsened last year, then we would still consider that. So it doesn't mean it would disqualify you from being a partner and potentially be accepted application. In this section, we pre-programmed already fields for 3 enterprises, but as our eligibility criteria states, only 2 enterprises are mandatory. So you need to fill up at least 2 fields for 2 enterprises. The third one can remain open in case you don't have a third enterprise participating. Any question here so far? Otherwise, I will still continue with section 3, how the enterprises will finalize their contribution.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was just one query about how to choose whether it's whether VTI, whether Vocational Training Institute, that is the lead applicant, whether to choose Adult Lifelong Learning Education Training Institute or Vocational Training Center. and how to emphasize the specialization. So I answered that there is a separate field where VTIs, where educational institutions can choose what's the type of their specialty. Is it security, agriculture, or whatever? And the separate field for entering the form of a VTI. Is it a school or a training center or adult learning center? So if I answered right, Pavel, confirm, or otherwise
yeah,
add.
true.
Okay. Good, then we can move on.
Okay, so to continue with this section, with the same section. So here you see these guiding notes at the top of the page, which are clearly explaining what needs to be done. So these were 2 items on the list, which we are asking you to complete, what I mentioned before. And once everything, all the information about the enterprises are completed, here in guiding notes, you see that you are asked to read and agree with the following declaration. And then this button finish contribution will appear. And once all the enterprises will enter all their information, you will need to push this button finish contribution, which is basically confirming your participation on the project, and also that all the information which are inserted are true, complete, and accurate. Once all the enterprises will push this button finish contribution, only then the lead applicant, the VTI, will be able to submit the application. So it is quite self-explanatory, intuitive system, so where you see what you need to do and you just enter the information into the open boxes or answer the questions which you are asked. So I don't think it's too much complicated. So can we move to the section 4? Okay. So section 4 is devoted for the situations when you have more than 3 enterprises as a partners within your consortium. And in that case, in section 4, you need to answer your question that you require additional enterprises. In that case, you push yes, and the system will automatically open fields for enterprises under number 4 up to number 10. So all in total, you can enter the information for 10 enterprises. Any questions, Elena, here? Okay, so let's move to section 5. Okay, this section is about the cooperative training program, which is going to be subject of the application. And here again, some questions regarding the cooperative training program. So whether it is new or existing program, in case you are going to apply with more programs, this is especially in cases where your trainees are going to share the same premises, you know, like laboratories, tools, equipment, technologies. They might have a, you know, similar educational profiles, but not the same, and they still utilize all the benefits of the grant funding. They will, you will be asked, you know, to enter this information here as well. So certificate accreditation for the training program you are proposing. Again, if there are more, use the box for the comments to explain. Then the sector in which this cooperative training is going to happen. Then type of training program, whether it's a short-term or long-term, because, you know, in our case, also the institute VTIs which are doing, for example, requalification courses or continuing education, adult education, are also eligible as much as they can complete or comply with all the criteria, eligibility criteria which we have. Let me continue with this section with another fields which we have under this. So here we are asking also about the duration. In case of short-term programs, we would like to see what's the period of that training program. In long-term, we are asking about academic years, number of training places which are going to create in the first year, in the second year. In case of short-term courses, we are asking how many of them are going to happen over the period, which we are going to state about the start date, either for the existing ones when it started, or for the new ones when you plan to start it. Learning places offered by enterprises. So here we want to see, we have fields only for 3 enterprises here, but again in the additional comments, which is the last field in this section, you can enter information for additional enterprises if more of them are going to participate in that consortium on the project. Trainees employed, here we are asking about the estimated number of trainees which could be employed after the completion of the training program, but it's not a must. Yeah, I mean it's something where we want to see whether enterprises are interested to employ their trainees after completion of their training. Previous experience with cooperative training. So here we are asking about more details with the cooperative training programs. And yeah, it's self-explanatory. Rationale for cooperation. So here we want to see also some details. There will be at least 3 benefits of the cooperation for both parties. Resilience to situations like COVID-19. Here we want to see if the training program is somehow going to contribute to the improvement of the stability of the cooperation between the VTIs and enterprises. If it opens up the possibilities to stay active and work and go on with the education and training during the situations or like COVID or some others. And there is a box for additional comments where you can enter anything which for some reason you will not able to enter above. So this would be about section 5, about the cooperative training program. Any questions here?
Yeah, I've been chatting with one of the participants, and maybe that's interesting for others to hear as well. In case you cannot find your particular specialization from the drop-down menu, which says in section 2, it says the specialization of Vocational Training Institute, and there is a drop-down menu, and we have offered some options. And we advise you to choose the option that is closest and the most similar to your area of work. And if you cannot find this specific option, there is a field where you describe profile of your vocational training institution. And there you can additionally explain what subspecialization is it. So there is enough room for you to give us all the necessary information, and I believe it won't be difficult. Other than that, I don't see any hands raised for now or unanswered questions. So I believe that our attendees find it clear how to fill in section 5 and how to explain their cooperative training program.
Okay, good. So then we move. Yes.
Now, I'm just saying that there were many questions asked via email communication about these training places and how to calculate them. So I guess it became clear now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then we move on to section 6, which is about the current status of your cooperative training capacities. So here we are asking questions regarding the VTI positions for cooperative training coordinator, then the facilities which are available and whether they are available fully, partially, or not at all, and the same for equipment, tools, machinery, teaching materials, teachers' need for training, operations and maintenance budget supported by authorities for the project period, which is basically done through letter of support, which we come to it later on. This already gives us, facilities, equipment, teaching, etc. Give us already indication what are your funding needs. Then for the enterprises, we are asking for all of them. I mean, here we have fields for 3 of them. We are asking for the positions of cooperative training coordinator and in-company trainer. In some cases, especially if the enterprises are really small, this could be the same person. Any questions here?
No, there are no questions. I just wanted to maybe emphasize that it is expected from each partnering consortium to nominate cooperative training coordinator to assign from existing employees. Then doesn't have to be somebody newly hired. So just to maybe underline that condition.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if it's a dual education program, you probably already have instructors assigned. Other than that, if it's only cooperative training program, then this company trainers or mentors or training supervisors, so whatever functions in your educational institutions and cooperative
Mm-hmm.
scheme.
And we can also state that these people are also eligible to be trained within the funding from RCF. Yeah? So if you need to support them with additional training, this could be also inserted into your funding. Okay, then we move to section 7, which is about the funding needs, the grant financing. And here we are again asking about description of estimated project funding needs. So we would like to have some description. What are your needs? And the boxes below just are about the amounts, but here we would really like to have some more descriptive way about your needs. So you are selecting the country, the local currency, and then you have the project funding summary with several categories which are eligible for the RCF funding. And these are facilities or premises, either rehabilitation, reconstruction, or extension, and the amounts always in euro. And also, in case you want to state the local currency, then you are also, you see it's not mandatory field, but you can also state the local currency. If it's easier for you to go first through the local currency and then to recalculate yourself into euro. Then next to the premises, you have this category of equipment, tools, machinery, which could be newly procured or upgraded, the existing one. Then teaching materials, again, preparation or upgrade, and cooperative training coordinator, teachers and company trainers training. Anything else which might pop up here? So we would also like, if anything, if something doesn't really fit and you still think it's eligible, then please enter that. And there is also way and box with comments to explain about it. And in the last part of the same section, you will see fields with the matching contribution. As you know, in this grant scheme, you need to provide at least 10% of total requested grant amount. And this is provided by the vet consortium partners. It must be provided by vet consortium partners, and this could be in financial form or in kind form. Therefore, you need to explain here how this could be. What do you plan here for the financial contribution? And the guidelines are located on our website. How and what could be considered for the matching contribution. External partner contribution. This is any other partners which are involved in the project must be or could be specified here. So in case you have some external partners which are going to contribute with co-financing of your project, financial or in kind, you will need to state that here. And the total amount of the grant which is requested, it's the total sum of the amount, which is calculated automatically by the system. So you are not entering this information here. So any information or any questions you have here for this particular section?
There was, I'm just hearing some background noise. Somebody probably should mute. Well, there was a question, can one educational institution have two coordinators? Can there be two cooperative training coordinators? And well, I guess it's up to you. What we ask is to have at least one cooperative training coordinator from each partner. And if there's a large number of students and you need or different educational profiles combined within one project, I guess then it could be useful to have two coordinators. I'm sure that Mr. Verman will mention later that in-company cooperative training coordinators can be stated in the budget, but it is expected that for their salaries to be provided by consortium partners as a matching contribution. So the salaries of in-company trainers or in-company cooperative training coordinators or cooperative training coordinators from vocational education institutes cannot be financed by the RCF, but shall be a matching contribution. So that's one. And there's another, in the current number of students section, does this current number of students, does it refer to current number of course attendees? If we have short, I believe that the question refers to short term courses. So whether they should enter the current number of course attendees or the total number of the students from the start, calculating from the start of this year. So any advices on that, Pavel or Frieder? Current number or the total number for this year? I assume it's a short-term courses like 1 or 2 months or something like that.
Yeah, we are talking about section 5, cooperative training program. Just to be sure.
It doesn't say, but if current number of students is required to be entered in section 5, I guess.
Well, in section 5, we have number of training places which are created by the VTIs. Yeah, and here for those who have short-term courses, they are entering basically the number of trainees in the course. yeah, which they create during the whole year, if it's a short-term course below 12 months. So they are not requested, or it is clearly explained in the application format that they do not enter training places for the second year. So this is only.
I think I just found in section 2, page 2, there is the current number of students as obligatory. So number of total staff, the number of teachers, and then there's the current number of students. And then there is number of students enrolled in the past 3 years. As far as I can see, it's in section 2.
So well, Frida, my comment on that, but I would suggest to enter the number of trainees which they have under the training at this moment. This is the same like with the students. Yeah.
Yes, correctly. Yeah. Just to give us an idea of the current capacity and the current volume of training activities. That's the background.
I think this question inspired others related. So do we enter only the number of students that are included in the program covered by the project, or the total number of students in school? This is asked now by a secondary school.
For the current number of students, yes, the total for the school.
Yeah.
Total for the school. So the current number of students in section 2 refers students from your school, not only the cooperative training program that you're about to apply, but this is the question in section 2. So and then there are additional, meaning more than one, trainers, coordinators desirable for the application assessment process and awarded with any extra points.
I would say that depends on the course. So if 2 coordinators make good sense, then it's good to have 2 coordinators. And if 2 coordinators make good sense and there's only 1 coordinator, this will be certainly noted. So it depends on the overall concept of the training program.
Okay, I believe we had a answer to this question. I don't see any other questions. Let me check if any hands are raised. No. Yes, we can continue now with supporting documents.
Okay, so we move to section 8, which represents the supporting documentation. And here you see a couple of documents which you are requested to upload in this section. So that's the Memorandum of Understanding. The template you can find on our website. On English, but also Montenegrin version, you find the template which is bilingual, so in both languages, English and local. And we are asking you to complete that template with the consortium participants and sign it and upload it here. We also ask for the date of Memorandum of Understanding signatures. Then we have part where we ask for licenses. These are the licenses for vocational training institutes, that they are authorized to run the training programs. Then the accreditation document, which is about the training program itself. So we would like to see that these are formally recognized training programs. There might be a situation where you are still in the process of accreditation, or if it's new training program, then we will please comment on that in your application and earlier phase when you are describing about the training programs. And then this letter of support. Again, the template is available on the website under the application package. Here I would like to emphasize that privately owned VTIs are obliged to upload the letter of support signed by legal representative of the VTI, so basically by the owner of the VTI. And then we ask for the enterprise business registration, which is valid both for enterprises, but also for the privately owned VTIs as they are recognized as private businesses. any question here?
Yes, we have one hand raised. Evo ja ću sada dati reč Marini Jevrić. Gospođo Jevrić, podigli ste ruku i ja sam vas sada uključila u program, tako da možete postaviti pitanje. Izvolite. Gospođo Jevrić, evo ja vas pozivam da uključite mikrofon i postavite pitanje. Da li se čujemo? Dobro, ne čujemo se.
Jel čujete sad? Jel se čujemo sad?
Sada čujemo, da, izvolite.
Dobar dan. Ja sam predstavnik Instituta za standardizaciju Crne Gore. Ono što želim da pitam odnosi se da li naša organizacija, to je institucija, ima mogućnost da aplicira u ovom projektu. Naime, Institut za standardizaciju Crne Gore je, da kažem, vladina institucija, državna institucija koja je vlada osnovala za potrebe standardizacije u Crnoj Gori, a inače u zakonu o standardizaciji nama jedna od djelatnosti jeste i pružanje edukacije vezano za oblast standarda i standardizacije. Inače je poznato da na evropskom međunarodnom nivou imamo oko 40 i više hiljada standarda i da su oni na neki način uslov za zaštitu životne sredine, za kvalitet proizvoda, za slobodan protok roba i usluga i tako dalje. To je inače misija svake standardizacije i uspostavljanje tog funkcionalnog sistema standardizacije u Crnoj Gori i jedan od uslova jeste edukacija iz oblasti...
Jasno nam je. Dakle, vi ste institut koji u okviru oblasti delatnosti može da pruža određeno obrazovanje. Ukoliko ispunjavate kriterije prihvatljivosti o kojima se možete informisati na našem sajtu. Mi smo pričali dosta o tome tokom infosesija. Sad smo malo taj deo preskočili računajući da nema potrebe, ali dobro da ste postavili pitanje pa možemo da ponovimo. Dakle, potrebno je da ako vaš institut pruža stručno obrazovanje i obuku u skladu sa važećim okvirima kvalifikacija i izdaje licence, odnosno sertifikate ili diplome koji su prepoznati i priznati, onda i ukoliko se bavite tom delatnošću unazad neko vreme, dakle registrovani ste za tu delatnost. Evo sad ja pričam ovako napamet, nemam ispred sebe sve pobrojane kriterijume, ali možete pogledati na našem sajtu. Ukoliko ste dakle pružalac stručnog obrazovanja i obuke i možete da date odgovor na sva ova pitanja kojima smo do sada govorili, onda možete biti nosilac konzorcijuma. Ako ne, onda pak možete biti eksterni partner ili podržati neku drugu instituciju. Evo kažem, sad nemamo vremena da detaljno prostudiramo vaš slučaj, ali eto možete pogledati kriterijume prihvatljivosti na našem sajtu pa nam se javiti možda mailom ako tu ostane nekih nejasnoća. Evo ja gledam u kolege, da li neko želi nešto da doda, Pavel ili Fride? Ne. Evo hvala vam što ste se javili, pozivamo vas da nam se javite mailom ukoliko bude dodatnih pitanja na tu temu. Imamo podignutu ruku od strane gospođe Kostović. Gospođo Kostović, izvolite, u programu ste, da li vi imate neko pitanje za nas?
Dobar dan, opet Ivan Ivanović.
Ovo su se koleginice se prijave, a kolegi se jave, pa me zbunite.
Ja sam koleginice Dijaninog i Ljubicinog profila, to pošto one da ne bi sad uključivali, pa slušamo zajedno.
Pozdrav i od mene.
Pozdrav, dobro. Iz koje nam se institucije javljate? Nisam vas čula.
Ja sam direktor Srednje mješovite škole Danilo Čiš iz Budve.
Srednja mješovita škola Danilo Čiš iz Budve. Dobro, pozdrav za Budvu, blago vama što ste na moru. Izvolite.
Da, vi nam je vrijeme, samo turisti da krenu.
Samo da krenu, evo, stižemo.
Imao sam dva pitanja za vas. Pitali smo vas, odgovorili ste nam da može opština kao sekundarni partner da bude...
Kao eksterni partner, tako je. Ne može biti član u konzorcijumu. U konzorcijumu mogu biti obrazovne institucije i kompanije. Opština može biti eksterni partner.
To sam razumio, nego da li, obzirom da nama opština ili imamo dogovor sa njima da nam pomaže financijski, da li u onaj zbir od 10% može da ulaze sredstva koja će vam ona davati u tom nekom periodu kad budemo radili sve to? To me zanima. To je prvo pitanje.
Aha.
Da li onih 10% koje trebaju da konzorcijum daje, taj novac koji nam daje opština kao eksterni taj član, može da uđe i u taj ukupan zbir od 10%?
Možda je ovdje najbolje da gospodin Verman odgovori. Ono kako je postavljeno, svakako smo htjeli da pričamo o finansijskom učešću odmah nakon ovog, ali uglavnom budu učesnici nestrpljivi. Očekuje se da se obavezno učešće od 10% obezbedi od strane članova konzorcijuma, a da ostali vid doprinosa eksternih partnera može da bude kofinansiranje, ali ovih obaveznih 10% se očekuje da obezbedi konzorcijum, dakle sredstvima škole, sredstvima kompanija. Sad škole su budžetske institucije, one se onda i finansiraju negde neposredno iz različitih budžetskih davalaca, ali eto, gospodine Verman, da li sada želite nešto da dodate ili ćete kasnije tokom svoje prezentacije se dotaći i ove teme?
Yeah, the explanation is clear. That's what you said is right. So I will come back to that briefly again in the presentation of the budget and funding sources. But yeah, matching contribution from the consortium.
Tako je. Dobro, je li to? Jeste imali još neko možda pitanje?
Da, dobro, ok, to smo razumjeli. Je li mogu drugo pitanje sad ili?
Možete.
Drugo, znači trebamo do 30. aprila predamo ovo pismo zainteresovanosti, je li tako?
Do 30. aprila je potrebno da popunite, da u potpunosti popunite ovaj aplikacioni formular koji je sada kolega predstavljao. Dakle, ne da pošaljete pismo zainteresovanosti, nego da unesete adekvatne odgovore i štiklirate adekvatna polja kroz naš online grant management sistem na način na koji je upravo objašnjen. Pored popunjavanja formulara, evo kolega je sada naveo da je potrebno da se uploaduju odgovarajuće licence, akreditacije, pismo podrške nadležnog organa ili osnivača u slučaju privatne organizacije, registracionih formulara za preduzeća i memorandum o razumevanju koji potpisuje škola sa preduzećima partnerima, a formulare za pismo podrške i memorandum o razumevanju možete preuzeti sa našeg web sajta, imate na crnogorskom jeziku.
Sve nam je to jasno, hvala. Samo smo htjeli da pitamo pismo podrške. Da li se odnosi na Centar za stručno obrazovanje ili Ministarstvo prosvete?
Na ranijim razgovorima sa predstavnicima Privredne komore, koja je negdje i partner na projektu, rečeno je da je ministarstvo ono koje je nadležno da potpiše pismo podrške, ali ja znam da danas ovdje ima prisutnih iz Centra za stručno obrazovanje, ako oni žele da daju neki komentar. Informacija koju smo mi dobili jeste da je adresa za javne ustanove koje pružaju stručno obrazovanje Ministarstvo prosvete.
Dobro, i još jedno pitanje ako može. Znači, kad budemo, mi treba da damo neki predračun radova, je li tako, u ovom prvom
Tako je, očekuje se da date procenu troškova.
Da li, obzirom da ne možemo, ako budemo raditi, ako nas prihvatite, onda ćemo mi raditi mnogo ozbiljniji i detaljniji projekat. Da li će biti problem ako se napravi propust u nekih 5-10% što se tiče građevinskih radova, adaptacije, interijera, ne znam, hoćemo li moći baš sve da uklopimo sad u ovom prvom dilu precizno u euro, naravno kad se bude radio detaljni projekat svakako da, ali sad u ovom prvom dilu ako bude išlo gore dolje minus 10%, da li će to biti problem kasnije ako tačno sad ovom problemu ne budemo precizirali?
Da, razumeli smo, vi ćete sad dati neku okvirnu procenu, ja mislim da to neće biti veliki problem, ali evo gledamo gospodina Vermana, on nam je danas zadužen za finansijska pitanja, naravno potrebno je da date što tačniju procenu, da probate da predvidite na što je moguće bolji način i u fazi podnošenja izjave o zainteresovanosti, a ukoliko dođe do nekih odstupanja, onda bi trebalo da oni u fazi podnošenja celokupne prijave, trebalo bi da ih dobro obrazložite zašto je došlo do odstupanja, u čemu se one sastoji, u kojoj su meri, pa će onda to biti predmet razmatranja. Frieder, da li želite vi nešto da dodate kao odgovor na ovo pitanje?
No, that's fine. So an estimation right now is good. So an educated guess, I can as well call it. And then in the project proposal, it needs to be more specific and more precise. Even after that, so after a positive decision, we will renegotiate and reconfirm all the different positions. So it's it's a longer process and depends as well on what exactly is being either constructed or purchased. So at this stage, rough calculation is fine.
Eto, dakle, čuli ste odgovor, okvirna procena, ugruba u fazi pregovora i podnošenja celokupne prijave. Hvala vam puno na pitanjima. Nadam se da smo dali zadovoljavajuće odgovore. Ja ne vidim više podignutih ruku, ali vidim jedno pitanje iz Q&A. Pavel, we have one question concerning the current section. There's a question from Mrs. Radović saying, organizers of adult education, they have licenses for conduction of their programs, but accreditations are given only to study programs at the level of faculties, so tertiary level. So the question is whether it is okay if organizers of adult education upload only their licenses because they don't have accreditations, according to Ms. Radović.
So I would say if that license is by an authorized institution, yes, fine. So I would have to see in detail where it comes from. But yeah, in principle, I would say that's okay.
So if only licenses are uploaded and there is no accreditation document, it's okay. They can move on with the submission.
Well, that is a technical question, Pavel, because it's a mandatory field. We would have to,
Is it mandatory? I don't see the star, so maybe there is, but I currently cannot see it.
Let me check on that. But anyway, I mean, if there are these little things which we need to update, I will after this webinar. So I mean, I can even add a little box for comment for those who have no access to accreditation, that they can explain the reason there is no accreditation. So I don't think it will upset the application form as such.
Eto, zahvaljujem se gospođi Rad. Thank you, Ms. Radović, for this question, and she also thanks us for the answer. Great.
Okay. So
yeah, just to check, there are some questions in chat as well. So if a private educational institution applies, does this private educational institution has to have ISO standards fulfill? ISO standards.
That is not a requirement in Montenegro. It is also not our requirement. So it would be, So we follow the national legislation there. So if a certain area is required, we would as well require it. Otherwise, we also can live without ISO.
Dakle, ukoliko domaće zakonodavstvo i regulative traže ISO standarde, onda ćemo tražiti i mi. Ako to ne traže, nećemo ići korak dalje. Dobro. Onda sada još jedno pitanje. Another question about letter of support. Does it have to be in English? No, it does not have to be in English. Support letter is available in Montenegrin, so you can download it in Montenegrin from our website and use that form to communicate with Ministry of Education. Dakle, pismo podrške dostupno na crnogorskom i u toj formi se možete ga preuzeti i proslediti na potpisivanje. I think there are no further questions or hands raised, new hands raised. I just see Mrs. Kostović, but she already asked. I think we can move on.
Okay, so we move on to the last slide of my presentation, and this is section 9, where once all the information are completed in the summary page, and also the partnering enterprises confirm their participation on the project via this Finish contribution button. The leading VTI is ready to submit the application, and this submit application button will appear. You will not see that until the moment I explain. So everything has to be completed, and the partnering enterprises must confirm their participation. Then you will be able, as a leading applicant, to submit the application pushing by the button. It's clearly also explained here. I mean, there is a little declaration where you are basically confirming that, again, all the information which you are submitting are true and completely accurate, and should be a legal representative of the consortium partners who confirms that this information are of such a character. Once you push the button submit application, your application will be registered in the system as submitted. You will receive the acknowledgement email from the system about the submission of your application, and you will be not able to modify it anymore. You will be able to log in and to view the application, to download it, to print it again if you want, but you will not be able to modify it anymore. So, and as all of you know, I mean, the deadline for the first call of open call is the 30th April by midnight. So if you manage to submit until that particular deadline, you will be considered. If not, then the system will not accept your application. And afterwards, all the applications will be evaluated by independent evaluators, and all those who will be approved will be invited to complete the full application, full project proposal, which is going to be expanded format of this expression of interest form. Thank you, Elena. This is from me for now. Thank you for your attention. And maybe just the last piece of information, in case you would have any questions about the system, about the fields, you can always direct them to this particular email, which is devoted to your queries and questions about your applications. And here you can see it. You see it also in the guiding notes of the application. So applications@rcf-wb6.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pavel. This was very useful and precise. I hope now our participants, our potential applicants, have a better understanding of what are they expected. I hope it doesn't look that demanding. I know I spoke with some of the directors and they said, oh, this will be difficult. I hope you see it's not difficult. So just the basic information about your institution, about partners, about your program, and your cost estimation. Speaking of cost estimation, how to estimate the amounts that you require from the RCF, the amounts that you want to present as matching contribution. Now we go to that point. I will straight forward give a word to Mr. Frieder Werman, team leader of our fund management unit, to explain the budget and to give us some useful advices on planning the budget of your projects.
Thank you, Jelena. I will in a second. So this is visible now. Okay, then I'll also find the pointer. Good. Yeah, so that is the budget template as it is well available on the website. And the level of information or the detail of information is not required right now for the expression of interest. You have seen the fields that are required in Pavel's presentation. Nevertheless, it's probably useful to have a look already now at what will be required during the application stage. And this is the information in a nutshell here. So we were not asking for much more than this. But this is the level of information we will require at that stage. So we have the sheet has basically two parts. One is the planning of the budget. This is here this field in terms of positions for which expenses are planned. And there we have, in principle, 4 different phases. I can come back to that later, and different positions here. And then we have a second part which relates to the sources of funding the project. And this goes then directly to the discussion about the matching contribution, the possibility of co-financing, and then eventually the amount requested under the RCF. Taking these different elements one by one briefly. So this is the planning exercise, the budget. I mentioned already 4 phases. One is the project implementation phase. That is basically the period and the activities leading up to the offering of a given training course. Then we would expect information on the first 3 years of running the training, probably academic years, maybe as well calendar years. That is something that you will be able to define then in the proposal. Then the 3 main activities that we finance. So the first one is the investments. As explained already in the info sessions, possibility to fund machinery and equipment under the RCF, but as well the adaptation of buildings, even the construction. That's quite a big thing, rather adaptation and reconstruction in most cases. Adaptation of classrooms, and if there are any other investments that are considered useful, and that's a possibility to specify that as well. So most of these investments we would consider to take place during the project implementation. So when the investment takes place, and then maybe occasional either additional parts or maintenance for the investment, but it's then already covered under the operating cost. The second part are the activities related to the implementation of the cooperative training program. Relates mainly to the training of teachers and the in-company trainers, the development of teaching and learning material, and then as well the remuneration of trainers and cooperative training coordinators. Again, so from the phases, this obviously will take place to a large extent during running the course, but the training and the development of learning materials obviously as well part of the implementation phase.
Frieder?
Yeah.
We just have a comment from translators there. It's difficult for them to hear you, so maybe just speaking a little bit slower. I hope, Maya, that will help.
Good.
And if you can repeat the last 2 sentences. I was following Montenegrin translation, and these were not
really translated. Okay.
Yeah, they didn't manage to catch it, just slowly.
Yeah, good. Then the second part is the corporate training activities. This relates to the training of teachers, in-company trainers, the development of learning material, and I mentioned that these elements will most likely take place during the project implementation phase, and then maybe refresher upgrades during the period of running the program. The remuneration for trainers and coordinators obviously relates to the academic years during which the course is offered. And then at the end, the operational costs which are required to organize and run the training course. There we have OHS expenses, transport, insurance allowance for learners, utilities, maintenance equipment, all that that makes in the end the program work functional. Good. These were the positions that need to be planned and forecasted. And now the switch to the sources of funding. We have basically 3 sources. One is the matching contribution. Then we have the co-financing element, and then we have the requested grant funding, or the financing through the RCF. The co-financing is not a requirement; it's a possibility. So we have heard already before that in some cases municipalities are willing to participate or interested to participate in projects. that is fine, and this should be entered here. Co-financing can in principle come for all the different positions, depending on what is made available. Can as well be international partners, can be ministries, can as well be municipalities, as mentioned already. Then we have the matching contribution, which is the 10% that are required under the RCF program, and the 10% relate to the requested grant funding. It is not related to the entire amount of the project, but the grant funding. And again, here the matching contribution, can be a participation in the investment coming from the consortium partners, either the VTI or the enterprises. Can as well be participation in the training of teachers, in the remuneration of trainers and coordinators, or as well the participation in the operating costs. And we would expect that mainly these, so the salaries and as well the operating costs would be covered under the matching contribution, because these are the areas which are not eligible for funding under the RCF. Yeah, so remuneration of teachers and trainers and coordinators cannot be covered by the RCF. The same with the operational costs, transport, insurance allowances and utilities. What can be funded under the RCF are OHS expenses, so occupation and health and security, and as well the maintenance of equipment. But the other positions, it's the area usually where the matching contribution would come from. Good, I think I'll leave it here and rather take questions that come from the audience.
Thank you, Frieder. As far as you can hear, I was just answering through chat that this formula, this form of budget, this detailed form, is not required at the moment of expression of interest submission. Frieder mentioned, but just to repeat, so this we presented this so just to give you idea what can and cannot be included in RCF financing. This form will be required in the stage of complete full project application, and at the moment is required only to enter answers to the questions that Pavel presented within the expression of interest form. Are there any questions that you have about budget, what can or cannot be financed, how to calculate something? I don't see any questions in Q&A or in chat, and I know that there are many interesting questions. Should the estimated amount include the 3-year program plan? From Milena Radevic. Should the estimated amount include the 3-year program plan?
Yes, so for the investment, so what we ask in the expression of interest, yes, to the extent applicable. So the equipment and the investment that's in the first year, and then there might be certain costs to be financed under the RCF that also relate to training or advisory. And if it makes sense to spread this as well over the 3 years, then it should be calculated for the full 3 years. And the same with the OHS expenses and the maintenance of the equipment.
Thank you. And there was another question, just to confirm, if we have students coming from different cities, their transportation is not covered by the RCF.
That's correct, yeah.
That's correct. You cannot cover their transportation from RCF funds, but Frieder, if I'm not wrong, if there are some transportation costs for the students, they can be presented as matching contribution.
Also correct, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Mulic, for this question. And Are there any other questions concerning the budget? You can raise hand or ask through chat. We have 2 minutes. Use this 2 minutes wise. I guess we were crystal clear.
Good. And it's also efficient to come back to it when the full application is on the agenda. So it's
Exactly.
provides an overview, and it's good to keep it in mind. But indeed, now for the expression of interest, one would also do without it.
Mm-hmm. And then there is a question from Mrs. Stanisic. Did we understand well costs of a training, troškovi obuke od strane trenera iz preduzeća? Aha, if there are some trainings done by in-company trainers, these costs cannot be covered by the RCF.
Yes, yeah, that would be the in-company training usually. So, and the salaries, to make it concrete, the salaries of the in-company trainers cannot be financed under the RCF.
Dakle, odgovor za gospođu Stanišić je da je dobro razumela i uglavnom ako imamo troškove trenera u kompanijama, oni pretpostavljaju se već primaju platu za to, to može biti njihov rad direktno na programu, može biti predstavljen kao finansijsko učešće, dakle onaj matching contribution. Can you elaborate on the OHS expenses, occupational health and safety expenses, that can be included in the estimated amount? I'm reading the question from the chat. Can we elaborate on the OHS expenses that can be included in the estimated amount?
It is usually going into the direction of certain equipment for workers where this is applicable. So for accountants, that's less of an issue. Yeah, if you go to construction, it is more of an issue. And as well, possibly the adaptation of certain equipment and machinery to fulfill certain standards. That is something we will as well ask for during the application phase. A certain concept with regard to OHS regulations. That's it. So it's equipment in the first place for the trainees and the trainers as well.
So we heard an answer: OHS equipment for trainers and trainees and related directly to cooperative training program. Every cost has to be directly related to cooperative training program. I have it. So if there are any guest lecturers from different companies, states or cities, can this cost be covered?
Yes, this cost can be covered because that is then coming in as additional training services or advisory services. And if it's from outside the consortium partners, someone reputable, it has to be argued well why this should come from outside. But in that case, it can be financed.
So you heard external lecturers from different companies can be financed. So there is a question about training of teachers. Obuka nastavnika nije zaposlenima u partnerskim. So this is question if the training of teachers is not regular job for in-company trainers. How can they calculate it? If there are, for instance, 20 teachers that needs to be trained, and they want this training to deliver by partnering enterprises, and this is not a regular job, like working with students, working with teachers is something additional. So any comments about that?
Yeah, one would have to estimate the time spent on that, and then calculate it pro rata over the salary of the trainer or the teacher or the meister or someone who has the technical skills to deliver that kind of training.
And it can be represented as a matching contribution.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, again, if it's from the consortium partners, it's a matching contribution. If there is a training from outside, so from an whatever state agency or international projects to train the in-company trainer or the cooperative training coordinators, this can be financed under the RCF.
Okay, I'm just typing it in local language through Q&A so that, okay, let's take another question and then finish. So, yeah, that was actually the checking if they understood well. So this can be matching contribution. This training of teachers that is conducted by consortium partners can be calculated as matching contribution. Okay, good. I don't see any hands raised and nothing burning in Q&A or chat. And since we are out of time for this tutorial, I say we stop here. Ako se slažete, napravit ću ovu odjavu na lokalnom jeziku kao što sam počela i sa uvodom. Hvala svima na pažnji. Zahvaljujem se Pavolu i Frideru na njihovim prezentacijama, prevodiocima što su se borili sa našom terminologijom veoma uspešno. Hvala učesnicima koji su ostali do kraja, vaš 40-ak. Dobit ćete kroz follow-up mail snimak ove današnje sesije, pa možete da preslušate za slučaj da ste nešto propustili. Također prezentacije koje su korišćene. Mi ćemo održati još jedan online tutorial, mislim 9. aprila, ali sadržaj će biti potpuno isti kao danas, iste prezentacije, tako da znate da tu neće biti za vas ništa novo. Danas smo imali ograničen broj učesnika na 50 i taman toliko je i bilo. Hvala vam na pažnji. Za sva dodatna pitanja u vezi grant management sistema Pavel je ostavio adresu applications@rscf-bb6.org, a ja sam poslala i moju mail adresu, neko je tražio, tu je i info@rscf-bb6 adresa, tako da ako bude bilo kakvih pitanja, budite slobodni da nam se obratite mailom. Hvala na pažnji i doviđenja, što bi rekli.
Thank you. Bye-bye.